feeling this red lip. I'm really feeling it. You know when you get that perfect lighting, yeah? Ooh, my face is looking mad round though. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well as ever. Today we are going to jump straight right in talking about something that is super close to my heart. It's literally been my experience for the past 4 years in education. Whew. Getting old out here or whatever. It's cool, it's fine. Like, don't crack, all that good stuff. But yeah, no, we're going to be talking about Ivy League institutions with specific reference to the institutions that I've actually attended, which is Oxford and Harvard. So without further ado, let's get into it. So for those of you that are interested in applying to or going to these institutions, one thing to note is that it's going to be very intense. So speaking from my experience of Oxford during my undergraduate degree, the term times were actually pretty short, shorter than your typical kind of 12-week term time at other institutions within the UK. And that is typically 8 weeks a term. Maybe thinking, it's only 8 weeks, you know, I'm gonna get through, I'm gonna party, I'm gonna have fun or whatever. No. The amount of work that you're required to do in those 8 weeks is very intense, very, very intense for the humanities students as well as for non-humanities. So we're talking about our brothers from the other side, our STEM students. Typically you'll have quite an intense workload every single week to do. Now this may be scary, and it was indeed scary. Oh Lord, I sunk. Like juggling a Oxbridge workload is like learning to swim. Some of you may, you know, drown when you first do it, but you quickly learn how to navigate, and soon you'll be able to function in the deep end. So for my course, which was history, I was typically doing 1 to 2 essays every single week of about 2,000 to 2,500 words. Sounds like a lot, but it's doable. It is actually doable. And the great thing about going to an institution like Oxford is that it really prepares you to handle very intense workloads after, or just kind of like helps you in terms of like your time management and how to get the best bang for your buck in terms of productivity whilst doing other things. So in my first year, I was pretty much only doing work because I was just like, you know, I don't know how to, like, how do I balance this? How do I work? And in my second year, I found myself in the complete deep end, where I was doing my regular like undergraduate work, but also doing 10 million other things. I was on literally 10 million other committees. It was the best and worst year of my life. It was a very formative time. But yeah, if you're interested in applying to a place like Oxford, just know that there's going to be a lot of work. I can say the same for Harvard. Obviously it's slightly different because I'm doing my master's degree here. The type of intensity is slightly different in the US, whereas in the UK, our institutions tend to be typically very focused. You know, you apply for a specific subject and you study modules within that subject. At US-based institutions, you tend to have a major and a minor, or you tend to have a course that allows for more breadth, which means that you're typically doing very different types of things. So within my master's degree, I'm studying things like microeconomics, philosophy and critical thinking, sociology and culture, as well as statistics. So it's very much about breadth as opposed to depth in UK Ivy League institutions. So that's something that is important to note. It's also just as intense. Don't think, oh, I'm gonna swan off to the US and apply there and it's gonna be fine. No, it's just as intense, albeit a different type of intensity. I think Oxford really prepared me to, at least not, it really prepared me in the sense of helping me to become much more adaptable when it comes to intense workloads. despite the nature of the workload. So that was really helpful for me. Another thing that I would say is important when considering applying to an Ivy League institution is understanding that these environments are not for everyone, and that's okay. There tends to be this kind of idea of, oh, I've gotten X amount of GCSEs or A stars or whatever, or I've done really, really well, so I must go to an Ivy League institution. You really don't have to. You can go to any other institution that you find is befitting for you. Like, it's not just about, you know, being at these really, really elite places, because you might find that the environment is actually just not a place that you want to be, and that's perfectly okay. I chose Oxford basically because I loved the course that they offered. The opportunity to specialize in a lot of Black history was really appealing to me, and I really wanted something that was going to push me academically. Like, I really wanted that rigor, because I'm one of those weirdos that really enjoys the whole, you know, push me, you know. I wanted to fight my academics basically, and here I am still fighting, but alas, it's okay, it's all right. So yeah, it's perfectly fine to choose another institution that you think would be better for your growth. University, as I've said in some of my other videos, and just like on social media and life in general, it's not the be all and end all of your trajectory. I have so many friends that went to other institutions who have even applied to Oxbridge, and having gone through their university experience would have not gone anywhere else. So, and that goes both ways from the UK point of view and the US point of view. So yeah, choose where works for you, pal. One thing I'd also like to be honest about is the levels of diversity at Ivy League institutions. Now, at like across the pond in Oxford, in Cambridge, in Harvard, diversity is still very much a thing that all of these institutions are committed to working on. It's definitely not the best, especially if you are like me. So I grew up in London, born and raised in London, whoop whoop. And it is a hub of multiculturalism, in the sense that I grew up around so many different ethnic minorities, predominantly Black though. Going to Oxford was a culture shock. Oh my gosh. I went from a school of predominantly Black, it was almost like 80-90% Black, to Oxford. And in my college, I was the only Black girl for like 2 years, until my lovely, lovely undergrad Shakina came through. Whew. I was like, thank the Lord. And there were 2 other Black males in my year. So I was, and this is in a college of about 300 to 400 people. So I was definitely the, you know, blackface. So diversity is not great. It's not like amazing. So many access and outreach initiatives that are already like out there that are attempting to make things better. Major shout out, of course, to the Oxford ACS. Like, we have been breaking our backs for like what feels like 10 million years to try and get more students from African and Caribbean heritages into places like Oxford. Big up all the other ACSs across the UK as well as everybody that's kind of put, all the student activists that have put so much effort into trying to get that diversity. And I can say the same across the pond at the US as well. So many Black student unions that are really, really about, you know, getting that diversity in, and not kind of like using it as a buzzword, or like trying to get couple tokens here and there, but actually trying to improve access so that more people of colour can come to places like Oxford, Harvard, Cambridge, all of them. So yeah, big up all of you guys. It's definitely an issue, so don't be thinking, you know, you're gonna pull up to like an Oxford, be like, yeah, I'm about, like, yeah, everybody's about, like, oh rah, like all my people, they're not there. Some of them are there, I'm not gonna lie to you. A lot, like, ACS saved me. I became president in my 2nd year in my undergraduate degree, and ACS saved me. Like, it was really a home away from home. So on the one hand, don't think that you're gonna be alone, but on the other hand, be realistic and understand that it's not going to be like a hub of all things diverse. Yeah. Now, this might be a controversial point, but if you do decide to go to an Ivy League institution, particularly if you're somebody from an ethnic minority background, I know that it's such a big, it seems to be a big thing that, you know, you've got the Oxford or Cambridge or Harvard or Yale or Princeton stamp of approval. And it's honestly an amazing thing, but there tends to be kind of like two pervading issues when we look at elitism and ethnic minorities. The first is imposter syndrome, feeling like, you know, it's not worth it because you feel like there's not a space for you there, which is totally wrong. You really need to channel the spirit of entitlement when it comes to your education. You really want to get the best out of your education. And if you believe it's at Oxbridge, if you think that it's at Oxbridge, irrespective of your background, you should feel like you would be able to thrive there and do really, really well there. So like, listen, take that imposter syndrome and put it in the bin where it belongs, okay? We're not doing that. And then on the other hand, you have this idea that going to an Ivy League institution suddenly kind of like makes you this inherently special, amazing, above all others kind of, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it. The sheer arrogance idea that you have become better than everybody else simply by going to this institution. Whilst it's true that, you know, going to an Ivy League institution does equip you with certain skills that will be, you know, useful to you in the labor market, will be useful to you in cultivating your networks, and really useful in terms of like just personal development. If you're thinking of going to an Ivy League institution, or you're at an Ivy League institution, or you have left one, don't be fooled into thinking that you are some kind of, you know, superhuman person by virtue or by nature of going to these places. There's so much more. Don't let that become the essential element of your character. Yes, it's amazing that you are able to go to these places. Heck, I'm so honestly grateful that I was given the opportunity to go to both Oxford and Harvard, but don't allow that to subsume your personality and neglect to work on parts of yourself because you think that that's who you are. It's not. Especially for my people that are ethnic minority, I'm really speaking to you guys here. Don't think that this is the be all and end all of your character. There's so much more. There's things that you've got to do. There's so much more out there. Come on, knock the ego down a little bit, knock it down to 2 notches or whatnot, and keep it moving, keep it stepping. There's more, listen, there's so much more progress you can be making. So yeah. Another thing I would like to just hammer home is that it is a strain on your mental health. If I'm keeping it a buck, 100 with you guys, it can be a massive strain on your mental health. For me, it was an issue in my last year, my final year of my undergraduate study at Oxford, where, okay, so in terms of like the structure, that's something you guys might want to look at as well. All of our grade is made up of our final School of History, which is 2nd year and 3rd year, but we're examined entirely, well, at least in my year, it's definitely changed now. In my year, we were examined on all our modules in last year. So it's not atypical to find an Oxford student with upwards of like 7 to 15 exams at the end of the year. As you can imagine, that really causes an immense amount of strain when you're trying to revise things from, you know, a year and a half ago that you're going to be tested on at the all at once, you know. And it's tough, it's tight. You don't have as much time for, you know, socializing. You don't have as much time as, say, other universities to do things that you're interested in. Like, final year is really that, like, face your books. As in, like, I'm sure that my eyesight like level just deteriorated immensely in that final year alone, by virtue of the nearness to which I was looking at I had to look at my books. Like, literally, the book is here. My face was, it was really the epitome of face your book. And whilst I did love my subject, and I really did enjoy the time I had to really like process the things I had learnt, it was a really isolating and lonely time for me, as well as a lot of other people that I'd spoken to after the ordeal was over. So be aware of the fact that you're going to have to get very, very, very comfortable with your own company and really have some kind of strength or inner resolve to get you through those moments when there is nothing but you and your books and your information and the exam, because that's it. That is it. Watch out for yourself, guys, please. Okay, so the last thing that I'll talk about in this video is that the teaching style, I think, is quite amazing. So for Oxford and Cambridge, you have the tutorial system, which is basically you whatever work you've been given for the week, you'll have an opportunity to discuss one-on-one or two-on-one, typically with your supervisor or your tutor. And it's such an amazing time to really develop your argument and really like build your confidence. I'm not gonna lie to you, when I first started doing tutorials, my mouth was closed. I was even scared to, what do you mean? I didn't say Pim sometimes, you know. All I was doing was hum, because I didn't have enough confidence to really make use of that opportunity to in my first year. But in my second year, my third year, I became mouthy, which is good, which is really, really good. In the US, they have something called office hours, which is essentially similar to tutorials, except you kind of like book an opportunity to speak to like your professor and have a chit chat about not just like the work or whatever, but also just like stuff you're interested in. So you might find a supervisor or professor who you think is doing some like super amazing work, and often they are like working in so many different fields. Like one of my professor works at the World Bank, another like literally wrote a book on something I'm super interested in, others do like research projects with the United Nations, and it's literally just an opportunity to like sit down, have a chat, talk about it, how did they get from, you know, A to B, that sort of stuff. So I think in terms of like teaching and opportunity and access, Ivy League institutions are definitely second to none, at least in my opinion. But yeah, that wraps up my honest kind of like quick summary of Ivy League institutions. I hope it was helpful. I hope it gave more of a nuanced understanding of what it's like to navigate these spaces. If you have any questions about it, or like if you want to hear more, let me know. Drop me an email even. It's all good. But yeah, hope you guys have a fantastic week ahead, and I will catch you another time in another video. Deuces. You say man's face is looking mad round. It's not my fault, guys. I have chubby cheeks. I don't really know what to tell you. It is completely, what's the word for it? Oh, I was doing so well. Oh gosh, I was doing so well. I was gonna do one thing. Is this lighting too bright? Oh, look how nice and shiny my teeth is looking. Colgate. That's that Colgate smell, guys. Anyways,